Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to call to order the March 14, 2016 meeting of the Dover City Council. I'd ask you to please rise and join us for an invocation by Reverend Theodore Henderson, followed by the pledge to our nation's flag led by Councilman Scott Cole.
Before we do our invocation, can we have a few moments silence for one of our airmen who lost his life, Senior Airman Kiefer Human. Let's just have a few moments silence. Heavenly Father, we pray both for the life and the soul of this, your servant, Kiefer Human, whose life ended at such a young age. We pray for his family, we pray for the base, and we pray for all the airmen out there, dear God, whose mission it is, dear God, to possibly put their lives on the line in defense of our country. Now, as for our city council, dear God, we pray that each one of these elected officials will realize that they are indeed servants, that you give us all a spirit of humility and civility toward the mission that we have been elected and appointed to carry out. And we pray not only that for our city council, dear God, but we pray that for our country. It appears as if elections has turned into a blood sport, one of arrogance and pride, even one of violence. And dear God, that is no way that our democracy should run itself and should be examples unto the world. So we pray for humility and civility likewise toward all of our officials and our possible future president. We just pray for that. And we pray for our country. And we pray that we'll recognize as we celebrate this Easter season and next month, Passover, that you were about humility and that you were about service and all that you provided for us, and that you use us as weak vessels to do your will, both good and bad, mostly good. In your name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, you have before you this evening's agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. President, I recommend we approve as presented. So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilman Hutchison, seconded by Councilman Neal to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now have before us the consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine and non-controversial are marked with an asterisk and will be acted upon by a single roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of council so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent agenda and considered a separate item. What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Hosfeld.
I'd like to pull item 9G, the police chief's report.
Hosfeld has asked for item 9G. Councilman Hare.
I'd like to pull item 8B2.
Hare has asked to have agenda item 8B2 pulled from the consent agenda. Is there any other changes to the consent agenda? Is there a motion then to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lewis and seconded by Councilman Neal. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Sweet?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, certificate of congratulations for Burns and Ellis Realtors 50th anniversary. I'd invite Mayor Christensen and Terry and Tom Burns to the podium for the presentation and request the city clerk to read the certificate into the record.
Whereas Burns and Ellis Realtors was founded in Dover in 1966 by Walter Ellis, who passed the family business on to his daughter and son-in-law, Terry and Tom Burns, 22 years ago. They have continued to operate the enterprise based on the sound principles of honesty, integrity, and hard work that Walter Ellis established long ago. And whereas Burns and Ellis Realtors' knowledge, professional skills, and flexibility have resulted in a loyal customer base and have allowed the business to prosper through favorable economic times, while their sense of vision and adaptability to changing conditions have enabled them to weather the more difficult times brought on by multiple recessions. Their business continues to thrive, as evidenced by attainment of their most profitable year ever in 2015. And whereas Burns and Ellis is celebrating 50 years of serving our community and has left an indelible mark on Dover by facilitating countless real estate transactions that have allowed grateful individuals, families, entrepreneurs, and businesses to realize their dreams. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Dover, Delaware, do hereby present this certificate of congratulations to Burns and Ellis Realtors on their 50th anniversary and extend best wishes in all future endeavors.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Clerk. I am really honored this evening to be here to present you with this certificate, and thank you for your great contributions of you and your families, and hope that you'll be here another 50 years because Dover is a great place. Now, as we award everyone certificates and plaques and proclamations, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Mayor. And I will say that I've stood at this podium many times in the course of our business in all these years. And just quickly, when Walt Ellis and Fran Lohr started the business back in 1966, just take you back in time, houses were selling for $14,000. We did not have McDonald's, a C5, Bay Health, Route 1, Dover Downs, or the Blue Hen or the Dover Mall. So there's just a few changes, and they, of course, didn't have computers or cell phones. But 50 years later, we have followed their example that was set, and we're very proud to be here, and it's been a wonderful place to run a business, and it's been a wonderful city and a cooperative place to be, a very comfortable environment. Terry and I enjoy it here, and we're very proud and pleased, and we appreciate everything very much. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Hutchison.
I would like to make a comment. I joined the police department in 1967, so 1 year later. Population of the city of Dover was 12,000 people. The US 13 on the east side was not in the city of Dover. And by the way, for what it's worth, the starting salary of Dover Police Department was $78 a week. So I remember very well, but I congratulate the two of you, certainly your dad, Walt Ellis, and Fran Lohr, for a fantastic 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have agenda item number 3, a certificate of appreciation for the Santa House Project. I would invite Tonda Parks, Norman Christofferson, and representatives of Becker Morgan Group, Dover Interfaith Mission for Housing, City of Dover Fire Department, Downtown Dover Partnership, City of Dover Police Department, Kent Signs, City of Dover Public Works Department, Lassard Builders, Delaware Department of Corrections, Delaware Technical and Community College, Quality Builders, and Delmarva Pole Building to join Mayor Christensen at the podium. And I would request the city clerk to read the certificate into the record.
The City of Dover extends its sincere appreciation to the groups and individuals who contributed so generously of their time, talents, and professional attention to the Santa House Project. The Mayor and Council of the City of Dover, Delaware, do hereby present this certificate of appreciation to Becker Morgan Group, Dover Interfaith Mission for Housing, City of Dover Fire Department, Downtown Dover Partnership, City of Dover Police Department, Kent Signs, City of Dover Public Works Department, Lassard Builders, Delaware Department of Corrections, Norman Christofferson, Delaware Technical and Community College, Quality Builders, Delmarva Pole Building, and Tonda Parks. Thank you for your part in creating a building for children and families to make memories throughout the year.
Mayor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Clerk. This building really started out as a dream in everyone gathered here's mind. It is a multi-purpose building. It's a Santa house, a Dover Days house. It's going to be a substation for our cadets downtown. And it's just a great addition to the downtown area, replacing the old Santa house that we had. So the main troublemaker in this was Tonda Parks. That's Tonda Parks. And she coordinated a lot of the efforts, but it was a collaboration of everybody that's gathered here in front of the podium today. And I thank each of you from the bottom of my heart, because wait till you see our next project. But everyone worked very hard, those people who are gathered here as well as those who aren't, and you have my heartfelt thanks. So Tonda, you want to say anything before I hand these out? I know you've been waiting for this moment.
A very special thank you to everybody that did get behind the effort. You can see clearly the idea and the vision could not happen without the support of everyone here, and of course the willingness for the Downtown Dover Partnership to pony up the money. And by the way, I'm still raising money to pay it all back, so you'll be getting a solicitation letter, and hope you'll support it.
Chief, thank you for escorting that. Chief, thank you for escorting. Dr. Chandler, there is no crying at City Council. Thank you. Yes, you may, sir.
Greg Moore, and I'm president of Downtown Dover Partnership, and I want to thank everybody on behalf of the partnership for helping make this happen. Everybody was instrumental in, but I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Chandler. He worked tirelessly. He used his students to help create this. He does an outstanding job in mentoring and teaching kids at Del Tech. They did a great job, and I know him from Becker Morgan prior to this, but I just think it's worth noting how good he is for the students and how much he integrates them into business. So thank you, Dr. Chandler.
Dr. Chandler would like to say something too.
This is truly a wonderful, joyous occasion, and I am just so deeply appreciative of all that we've been able to accomplish and this wonderful certificate of appreciation that's being given to us. But I would be remiss if we did not share with all of you that the prison was very instrumental. James E. Vaughn Prison Correctional Facility in Smyrna, they were very instrumental in making things happen. They were wonderful in how they built the house, and we were able to transport the house in sections to downtown Dover on Lockerman, and we were able to put it together. But my hat goes off to all of the wonderful personnel at the Vaughn Correctional Facility, and they were greatly much involved in every aspect, and we're very appreciative of all that they've been able to do. So thank you so very much, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone.
Did somebody from the prison industries want to say something? Because I think it was important. What you were sharing with me earlier about the experience of the prisoners and how they felt about working on it.
If we could have took pictures, it would have been nice to see the, I was telling her how the inmates took a lot of pride in making it, and the feedback we had from some of the inmates to the officers, the trade instructors that I have working in there, was totally a good coordination. And to see these guys work, if you could see what they could do, you'd be surprised, as you are now, some of the work they do. So very proud of them, very proud of my officers and the inmates. So if we can do any more in the future, we'd love to help you out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then just one more thing. We couldn't get a lot of the things done downtown without the support of Interfaith Mission folks and Herbie and your guys, if you want to say. Thank you so much. They helped not only with the house, but a lot of other things that we did.
Well, Eddie Perez calls and we come running. I don't care what it is. Where is he?
You ain't the only one.
Is that right?
You ain't the only one come running.
I'm pretty proud of our guys, let me tell you. We've got 80 guys that we're taking care of every night, and 75% of them are working. So I want to thank the community for taking them in and giving them an opportunity. Thank you.
And then Dr. Chandler, thank you, Herbie. I'm sorry, a village. Dr. Chandler just reminded me also that Deltec was very generous in loaning their admin services people to help with some of the finish work on the building to get it done in time for the open house. I hope I didn't miss anybody.
Mayor Christensen?
And likewise, we'd like to thank the city staff that was involved. They did yeoman duty, as did everyone on the project. So thank you again,
Right
all
there,
of you.
Right there behind you. Right there behind you.
The grounds crews and all planning and zoning. And would you like the mic, Ed? So thank you, folks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4 is Plan for Health presentation by the Delaware chapter of the American Planning Association. I'd like to invite David Edgell, Principal Planner with the Delaware Office of State Planning Coordination, and Tim Gibbs, Executive Director of the Delaware Academy of Medicine and the Delaware Public Health Association, to the podium for the presentation. Mr. Edgell, always a pleasure to see you here in Chambers.
Yes, and a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having us. Again, I'm David Edgell. Tonight I'm representing the Delaware chapter of the American Planning Association, and with me is
Tim Gibbs. I'm the Executive Director of the Academy of Medicine, the Delaware Public Health Association. Excuse me. What we're going to be talking about tonight is so timely with the two presentations we've just heard.
Can I ask that you ensure that you use the microphone so people
sure.
at home can hear what we're doing?
All right, let's see if we can make this work. Yes. Just a little background. This is a grant that we received. I'm going to give you a little background on the grant and how it relates to the city of Dover. The grant funding originated from the Centers for Disease Control, and they partnered with the National American Planning Association and the American Public Health Association. This year, over $2.25 million were awarded to 17 local initiatives, of which our Kent County initiative was one. And the funding is aimed at combating two determinants of chronic disease: lack of physical activity and lack of access to nutritious foods. And again, our local coalition of partners, which we'll hear about in a minute, worked to secure this grant. And those include, Tim?
So the Academy of Medicine was founded in 1930. We became the state affiliate to the American Public Health Association in 2013. Heretofore, the Academy primarily worked in Newcastle County. This is one of our first major efforts extending down into Kent and Sussex County.
And of course, the Delaware chapter of the American Planning Association is the local chapter of our American Planning Association, which is the professional organization for planners like myself. And in order to apply for the grant, we had to have a coalition, a larger coalition, and we already have a coalition in Delaware called the Delaware Coalition for Healthy Eating and Active Living, which was formed in 2009, and I've been a part of, and the chapter has been a part of ever since its inception. So those are basically the three umbrella organizations that work to apply for the grant.
And then in terms of the leadership team, of course, David, myself, Michelle Eichinger, who's with Designing for Health. You may know that name from when she worked with the state of Delaware. Barry Ellen Gray, who of course you all know from your own county division of planning. Patty Miller with New Moors. Bill Zwitek with Will Mapco up in Newcastle County. And Anne-Marie Townsend, who you all also know.
Okay, just to go in for the basic purpose of the grant. Again, chronic disease associated with lack of physical activity and unhealthy diet is a nationwide issue, and there is now an emerging trend in the planning profession to link public health and planning together to try to combat these issues. In Delaware, we had to select an area to focus on, and we chose Kent County for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's a diverse population. Also, there's data that indicates that there are health disparities in Kent County as there are elsewhere in the state. But we do have a very strong local government planning process, as you know, with your work with your planning department, as well as Kent County's process and on the many local towns. And we also have many of our APA members from Kent County are active in the organization. And the bottom line is we all really wanted to help Kent County residents be the healthiest that they can be. And just to give you some examples of the types of information we had to use to identify the needs in Kent County, in Delaware, Kent County has the highest adult obesity rate, and there's some other data that was used. For instance, unemployment and poverty are two what's called social determinants of health, in that people that live in poverty or are unemployed tend to have worse health outcomes than otherwise. So those are, again, some of the information we used. We also looked at the built environment in the grant application and looked at the fact that the growing body of knowledge is that the environment does impact the health of the population. And Kent County does have a number of USDA-defined food deserts. And we also, unfortunately, have the fewest miles of off-road trails in the state, although I know there's a lot of work going on to remedy that. But again, these are all things that helped us prove to the CDC and the APA that we deserve to get these funds to do the grant in Kent County.
Okay, so the socio-ecological approach. At an individual level, people are influenced to engage in healthy behaviors based on their knowledge, genetics, culture, etc. However, their behaviors may vary depending on their environment, at school, at work, at home. These settings in which behaviors are engaged are often influenced by a larger system or sector. For example, people who walk in their neighborhoods, their setting, often requires transportation agency, that's a sphere of influence, to assure sidewalks in those neighborhoods. Therefore, these sectors influence the health of the population by influencing the environmental context. Once we see the connection between health impact and those sectors of influence, we see a change in public policy and social norms. In this sphere, we see research and advocacy informing public policy. So one of the aims of this grant is to change the way comprehensive plans are updated by factoring health into the process. And one of the outcomes of this grant is to create a model that ensures health and equity are integrated into the planning of communities. So through physical activity, increasing access to parks and recreation, improving sidewalk and bicycle connectivity and infrastructure. Healthy eating by increasing accessibility, affordability, and availability of healthy foods, and improved land use patterns and urban design to facilitate the above. So project strategies. We're going to enhance existing organizational capacity to implement and monitor Plan for Health grant activities. Establish comprehensive communications and information dissemination plan for the working group, interested stakeholders, and the general public. Conduct health and equity assessments focusing on policy, systems, and environmental factors through resident input, land use design, policy analysis, and health risk data. Conduct planning and design charrettes in 2 representative communities in Dover and Kent County, and establish a comprehensive design and policy guidance that includes community design, land use planning, active living, and food security in community settings.
And I'll just briefly go over the kind of what we're doing and how it relates to Dover and Kent County. Again, we're going to be, our first phase, which we're into right now, is analyzing health data on a geographic level, and we're going to look at certain zip codes and areas in the county to see which areas have the most health disparities. Then we have 2 planning charrettes, which are multi-day planning meetings or planning exercises, and one of them will be in the city of Dover, the other one will be somewhere else in Kent County, which will try to look and work with the community to identify areas that we could address through planning. And I would like to mention that one reason why Dover and Kent County are so well poised to take on something like this is a lot of this work has been going on for many years through your comprehensive planning efforts, through other efforts gaze at public health and parks and recreation. And we're hoping that these planning exercises can help us maybe tie some of these things together in a little bit different context, looking at public health as the focus, but certainly not starting from scratch. We're working from a very, very solid foundation. And after the charrettes, the planning exercises are over, the information will be packaged up in a way that can both help the communities that we worked in terms of design recommendation and guidelines for them in particular, but also packaged up in a way that can help the city of Dover and Kent County in the next round of the comprehensive planning process, which in Dover's case is not till 2019, but we feel it's information that could be beneficial as you do the work you do every month and every day with your citizens. And the fourth thing there is the information dissemination, which again, we're hoping to share this information not just with those in the city of Dover, but also this is a nationwide effort, and they're very interested to hear what we come up with here in Dover. And actually, some of the work we're doing already has gotten some pretty good attention in other places. So.
Okay, so the project outcomes, there are three primary deliverables for this CDC grant. A guidance toolkit for the City of Dover and Kent County comprehensive plan updates, recommendations for communities that participate in the charrettes. So we're not just gathering information from them, we're also responding to the information they provide us. And then model integrating health and equity into comprehensive plans. Next slide. So next steps, administration of the community survey, health equity assessment of land uses and policies, identify priority areas in Dover and Kent County. And currently the survey and the health equity assessments are being conducted. The telephone calls started last week.
Last week.
Yeah, last week.
And I should have mentioned earlier, this grant is on a fairly tight time frame, and this will wrap up by September of this year, which is a very short time for a planning project, but a long time depending on where you are. I just wanted to highlight our next event, if you will, is May 4th. It's going to be in Dover. We haven't determined the exact location. But we'll be reporting out on that data analysis and the mapping that we've been doing, and start that process of selecting the communities that we're going to actually be working in, and one of them will be in Dover. And those activities will occur in June and July. It'll be 2-day activities in both communities. So with that, I think our last slide is our contact information, and Anne Marie certainly has our information if you have any questions. And I don't know if, Mr. President, if you wanted to take questions or if we'll just wrap it up.
Any questions for our presenters? Councilman Sutherland.
I have a question. First of all, I want to say thank you for your initiative. We do need to have healthier communities. But my major question is, how do you plan to make the healthier eating initiatives affordable for low-income communities / individuals? And two, what will be the criteria for selecting communities?
Do you feel comfortable answering number one?
Oh, you do number two first.
Okay. Number two, how do we select the communities? What we're hoping to do is work with the planning offices in the city of Dover and Kent County and look at the data and the mapping that we've been able to do based on the health information that we've been able to pull. And this information is fairly diverse and wide-reaching. And one of the great things we're able to do with this grant that's not been done typically is look at that health data in a geographic focus, and we've chosen to look at it based on zip codes because that's sort of the lowest common denominator of the way we can access the data. And we're doing our consultants, which is Designing for Health, is doing some pretty interesting work on a national level in terms of identifying how do we tell from the data which communities are most in need for that kind of help and that kind of assistance. So on May 4th, we're hoping to share the results of that, and we'll kick off that discussion of which communities in Dover and Kent County really are most deserving of having this these activities.
Thank you.
So.
Okay, to the second question, which is a critically important one, and we grapple with this at a national level at the American Public Health Association. How do we assess a community, identify a problem, and then how do we follow through with the responsibility of addressing the problem that we've highlighted? There isn't a good answer to the question of how do you cause food to become affordable for people. The tangential ways that we can get at that is how do we make the process to get to the food more practical for people? How do we make sure that those food deserts end up having places that's other than the 7-Eleven or the McDonald's, with all, I love me some McDonald's as well, but we need to have the alternatives there. And certainly in a county in this state where agriculture plays such a pivotal part historically and now with our society and our structure, there's got to be a way to take that from the field to the table more effectively. So that's one of the ways that we hope to address that, but you're asking the most important question.
Yes, because I know that healthier living does cost a lot more than McDonald's, 99 cents.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for answering my question. That's all.
Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for coming today, tonight. I have a question. Is this in any way related to the 2030 initiative?
No. Well, everything's related to the 2030 initiative at a federal level, but there's no stickiness between this particular CDC pot of money and that specific federal program. So the answer in this case is no, although the objectives certainly align coherently.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Agenda item 5A is public hearing, final reading of proposed ordinances. The first reading of the proposed ordinances was accomplished during the council meeting of January 25th, 2016. Copies are available at the entrance to council chambers. First, we have ordinance 2016-02. Because this is an amendment to the comprehensive plan, a public hearing is required. I will entertain a motion to consider the final reading of the proposed ordinance by title only.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Sutler and seconded by Councilman Hare. Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion would allow the ordinance to be read by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance 2016-02, amending the 2008 comprehensive plan as amended by replacing map 12:1 land development plan, proposed revisions to land use classifications of multiple properties, MI-16-01. Mrs. Townsend, could you please brief us on this ordinance?
Yes. I will ask the clerk to go to page 100 of the packet, and that way I can walk through each of the three map amendments as it relates to the exhibits that you have in the packet. I think it's the next page down. There you go. Okay, so there are three map amendments that are proposed as a part of this set of comprehensive plan amendments. The first one that you see on the screen relates to property at 834 South State Street. It's currently medium-density residential in the comprehensive plan. The property owner is asking to change it to office and office parks in the comprehensive plan. If you look at the exhibit map, you can see that the properties immediately south are also office and office parks. And while the immediately adjacent property to the north is medium-density residential, beyond that, you're looking at a property that's commercial and one that's office and office parks. So that is that specific amendment. The next one, if you go to the next page, is a land development plan change for a piece of property, a portion of the larger Kesselring property that is now impacted by the Westover connector. The land development plan change would be from low-density residential to industrial and public utilities. And when you look at this particular piece of property, it used to be a pie-shaped piece of property, a very large pie-shaped piece of property that now has the Westover connector alignment going through it, kind of snaking through. And the subject property that the applicant is requesting the plan amendment for is located directly between the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks and the Westover connector. So with the road project, it significantly changes the character of that area. The last map amendment, if you go to the next page, is the changing of two pieces of property owned by Dover International Speedway. This one was actually initiated by staff, not the property owner. We have been, I think, as you all know, we have been working with Dover International Speedway for about a year and a half to 2 years toward annexation of the remaining Dover International Speedway lands and an ordinance that would address how we deal with events like Firefly. So we had made a number of changes that were adopted by City Council earlier this year to the recreational and commercial zone. So in order to be able to apply the zoning that we created for the Firefly Festival, we would need to rezone those 2 properties that are currently agricultural in the comprehensive plan to the RC zone. So before we can do that, the comprehensive plan would need to be amended to change the land use classification from agricultural to commercial. So this is the property that's currently in the city. This is not the property that's proposed for annexation. That will be dealt with as the annexation comes through. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this on, now I'm losing the date. I'm sorry. On February 16th. And there were no members of the public wishing to speak other than the affected property owners. On the Kesselring property, the change from low-density residential to industrial and public utilities, the Planning Commission recommended in favor of the proposed land development plan amendment, 8-0. On the change of the land development plan from medium-density residential to office and office parks for the property at 834 South State Street. The Planning Commission also recommended with a vote of 8-0 in favor of that land development plan amendment. They did note that they would like us to look at that remaining residential parcel when we do the comprehensive plan, which we intend to do next year. And then on the request to change the land use classification for the Dover International Speedway property from agricultural to commercial, the Planning Commission voted 5-0 in favor of the plan change. There were 2 members of the commission who abstained from voting due to concerns of conflict of interest, and 1 member abstained from voting, stating that he was not comfortable moving forward without having received the comments from the state of Delaware. When we had the Planning Commission meeting, we had not yet received the plus comments. So at this point, we have received the plus comments. If you go to page 92 of your packet, that starts the excerpt of the Planning Commission minutes. So if you want to see what their specific concerns were, that's in there. And on page 96 is the plus letter. And I was able to share what was shared at the plus meeting, but we did not have the letter in hand. The State Planning Office did express a number of concerns about the land development plan change associated with the Dover International Speedway property. And those concerns are specifically stated on page 97 of the packet, which is the second page of the plus letter. And specifically, they're concerned about the intensity of the proposed RC zone. Again, the changes to the RC zone were all made in conjunction with the Dover International Speedway over the course of more than a year in anticipation of this specific rezoning and the annexation of the balance of the lands. So I know that the state does have some concerns, but this is very much consistent with what we have discussed, at the staff level with the Speedway, and I know there have been other discussions around that issue as well. So with that, I would be glad to take any questions you may have.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? Councilman Sudler.
I'll yield to Councilman Hutchinson.
Councilman Hutchinson?
Go back to Dover Downs' request for what is going to be the use of the property that they intend to rezone?
It would stay as it is, and it would be used for the festivals. So at this point, there are no permanent improvements proposed, but they do have a long-term arrangement with Red Frog for the Firefly Music Festival. So there aren't any anticipated real development changes proposed. At some point, they may come in with things like, showers or restrooms, but they have not gotten to that point yet.
So if it stays that way, the state of Delaware doesn't have any issues?
Right, I think they're concerned more with the zoning, and once it's zoned, there is the potential that another use could come in. We're not anticipating that. I think if that were to happen, we would be able to work with, council and the Speedway to manage that.
If Dover Downs wished to make a change thereafter, they would have to come back before us?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Well, not for, if they were going to do a site plan, they would not have to come before you. So no, they would not have to come to council for a site plan. But they would have to go back to the plus process at the state.
Right.
So the state would have the opportunity to review any development.
Okay, I'm fine.
I have Councilman Sudler, and then Councilman Harry, Councilman Neal.
Yes, after listening to you say that there could be another use underneath that zoning, what's the worst case scenario of another use that the city may not be in agreement with, A, and B, how do you overall feel about the state's concerns, state planning concerns?
So I think in terms of what could happen in that zone, there are a number of things, such as an automobile racetrack, which they already have.
Okay.
Hotels would be permitted, indoor, outdoor amusements. So it really is a commercial zone that focuses on the recreational aspects of the commercial uses. But the casino is zoned RC. So those types of uses would be permitted. In terms of the state's concerns, I certainly understand their concerns. They have had a very long-standing policy of opposing expansion of development east of State Route 1. But I believe, one, that if something were to happen in the city, we would be able to manage it. And I don't anticipate that would happen under the current circumstances. I can't tell you what would happen in 10 years, but I think that anything that would happen there, we would certainly manage.
Any liabilities as far as like maybe someone getting hurt or death, fatality? Or
no, because it's all owned by the Speedway and under their insurance. So our purview is really just the zoning
Thank
and
you very much.
that side of it.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal.
The biggest problem we have currently with Firefly deals with the traffic, the pedestrian traffic alongside of Persimmon Tree Lane, which blocks safety vehicles, ambulances, police vehicles, and the like. I think we are working very diligently with Dover Downs on this matter. We hope to have it rectified. Now, basically, the way it's set up, they could have additional things that are happening. I would presume if they would put in several permanent stages, they would be permitted to do so. The noise factor would be under consideration. But so far, they have been extremely sensitive to that with the neighborhoods and bringing in the neighborhoods to talk about the problems that have existed. So I'm very comfortable with it. Knowing that if they do want to bring in a Wild West show in that particular area, it could cause other problems or noise problems, but I think we would have to be notified that they're going to do that, and they have been very cooperative with the neighborhoods at this particular point.
Councilman Harris.
I just want to say I don't think that my experience in the past years that Dover Downs is going to do anything there that's not going to be first class, that's going to be proper. They're not going to do anything that will, I don't think, like you said, they have great communications with the people out there. But the history of there has always been first-class operation. And as far as the state, I guess maybe the state's worried they're not taking enough money from Dover Downs. So maybe they should change their name to DuPont Downs, and they might get a little more benefit.
Is that a motion you're putting on the floor? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Townsend, I'd like to change over to the South State Street part of it.
Okay.
And that, my question there has to do with traffic issues. What is being looked at to mitigate possible traffic issues? We've had issues with speeding in alleys and the like. What would be the impact on the alley behind? Those type of questions.
Well, again, the access for this would be off of the alley. But if you look at, the adjacent area, it backs up to the Medical Arts Building on Bradford Street. Just south of it is also a medical office building. So it's not, while there are areas where there have been concerns and complaints about speeding in the alley, this is not an area where you have as many residential neighbors that would be affected by anything like that. Again, I think that the alleys in this area are pretty narrow, so I think speeding is not as easily, well, I think, and the chief can correct me if I'm wrong, I think in some of the cases where we've gotten complaints about speeding in the alleys, the speeds aren't, any studies of the speeds have not borne out the concerns. I think on a smaller roadway, the perception is that it's faster than it actually is. So.
Other questions for Mrs. Townsend? Councilman Hare.
Just to follow up on that, this is a shorter alley too. It's not a longer alley that runs a full, it's kind of chopped up a little bit,
Right.
but, and the residents over there, speaking to a few of them, don't really have a problem with this because they know the property will be upgraded and made to look a lot better than it does now.
This is a property that's been vacant for a while and has had a number of code violations over the years, so this is, I think, seen as an improvement.
Right.
Other questions for Mrs. Townsend? Hearing none, I'm going to declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment? In favor of the comprehensive plan amendment? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Greg Moore from Becker Morgan Group, 309 South Governors Avenue, and I'm here representing Dover International Speedway. And a couple points I want to make. Dover International Speedway is very much in favor of changing the land use designation from agriculture. And the reason is it's not being used for agriculture. It is being used for the race. It is being used for Firefly. And there was a question about public safety. And right now, parts of Dover Downs or Dover National Speedway are actually in the county that are being used for these various events. And we have jurisdiction from the county, EMT, fire, et cetera. And then we have those same services from the city. And it bisects the event. And it creates confusion when there is a problem as to who dispatches to take care of those issues. So what we're trying to do at Dover International Speedway is to consolidate all of our lands under one zoning, under one jurisdiction, and have clarity that the city of Dover is in control for these various services so that if there is something that happens, and Dover International does a tremendous job of making sure it doesn't happen, but if something does happen, we get the EMTs to the location, there's complete understanding, and we don't have any public health issues because of some event. We want that because of that purpose. Item number 2, you're going to be seeing annexations come future. All of these things are planned together because we want that control. And the state has issue or has expressed some issue with two of these parcels, and they apparently want to keep them agricultural. The real fair planning idea is these properties are part of the Speedway. They are being used as facilities for the race. They're being used as facilities for Firefly, and they should be zoned the same as the Speedway and other properties for consistency. Anne Marie and I and the folks at Dover International all believe in that. We have no intentions of doing anything other than what we're doing. And we are not planning to build hotels back there. There's been things in the paper that that's what we're doing. We simply want one jurisdiction, one zoning, and part of that is also our commitment to Firefly. When they signed their 20-year program to stay here for 20 years, they wanted to see that, and they requested that the Speedway pursue one jurisdiction and get approvals to vest them to be able to come here for 20 years, and we are just trying to execute that. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have about the Speedway and why we're pursuing this.
Councilman Sutherland.
My major question is, since it is agriculture, how have you been able to put on these events and activities under that current zoning? And if you have been able to do that successfully, why do you need the city to change it now?
We've been able to do it because the city's been very cooperative. The planning department's been very cooperative. The fire department, the police, everybody has been very cooperative. And we've been able to pull off these events, and Anne Marie has had to use temporary facility permits to allow the events to occur, which is dissimilar from the actual operation of the Speedway in the RC zone. So we have a patchwork of making it happen and consolidating these zones and annexing into the city and bringing it under the city's control breaks that patchwork and makes it very clear who's in charge, and it's the city of Dover. And that's what we want.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Moore. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak in favor of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment? Good evening, sir. Give us your name for the
My
record.
name's Jack Kling, and I'm with Remax Horizons here in Dover. I represent the Kesselring family. The proposed request for rezoning of this property was basically my idea, and I talked to the Kesselrings when DelDOT basically come out with their plan for the connector route going around their property. It did make it kind of a unique parcel once that's going to be complete. It makes it much more favorable since it does have about 2,000 foot of railroad siding on one side, and the connector from Wyoming Mill Road will go directly into that property. So we tried to make it look at it as what its best use would be, and in my mind it would have been an industrial property or maybe an industrial park of some sort for that location.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak in favor of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment? Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
If you give us your name, that'd be great.
Yes, my name is Michael Braun. My wife and I are the owner of 834 South State Street. I just wanted to make the statement that that piece of property is not particularly suitable as a residence, which is what its current zoning is, and it would be a substantial improvement to convert it to a commercial operation. The structure lends itself to that. I think it's going to be an improvement and overcome a lot of problems that I am aware have happened with that piece of property. So if anybody has any questions, I'm here available.
See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak in favor of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the comprehensive plan amendment? Against the comprehensive plan amendment? Seeing none, we will declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of council with regard to proposed ordinance 2016-02? Councilman Hare.
Well, I'll make a motion for all three of them if it's appropriate.
This is for the comprehensive plan amendment. It's all bundled as one change. I think there are separate.
Make a motion to accept staff recommendation.
Second. Motion been made by Councilman Hare, seconded by Councilman Hutchison, to accept staff recommendation and approve the proposed ordinance 2016-02. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Sutherland.
I'm going to support. I am going to support the motion, but I just want to I want to sound the wrong way, but make things a little clear that it sounds like to me that we sometimes pick and choose who we're going to be flexible with when it comes to zoning, and it gives a bad taste in my opinion. And I think that if we're going to be flexible, we need to be flexible around the board. I am going to support this, but I just want to make my fellow colleagues, councilmen, aware that this is how I'm feeling, and that when we do for one, we need to do for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hosfeld.
Just a procedural question for the city solicitor. Should I, since I'm an employee at Dover International Speedway, I'm assuming I should recuse myself from the vote on this?
I think that would be
appropriate.
It could be a shame vote.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sudler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion passes 8-0 with one abstention by Councilman Hosfeld. Item 5B is a public hearing, final reading of proposed ordinance 2016-03, rezoning request for the lands of Kesselring Company LLC and others consisting of 37.2 plus or minus acres located west of New Burton Road and the railroad corridor, and including the property located at 1436 New Burton Road. Properties are currently zoned R20, one-family residence. The proposed zoning is IPM, Industrial Park Manufacturing. First, I'll entertain a motion to consider the reading of the proposed ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Hutchison. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Ordinance 2016-03, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the city of Dover by changing the zoning designation of property located west of New Burton Road and the railroad corridor, and including property located at 1436 New Burton Road. Mrs. Townsend, would you please brief us on this item?
Thank you. This is the companion rezoning to the comprehensive plan amendment that relates to the Kesselring property. The current zoning of the property is R20. The proposed zoning is IPM. Again, with the comprehensive plan amendment that was just approved by City Council, this rezoning would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Not rezoning it would now be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Again, the reasons that support the rezoning are the same as those that support the comprehensive plan amendment, principally that you now have a piece of land that is bound by the new road and the railroad line, which is no longer suitable for residential and does lend itself to industrial development.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the rezoning? In favor of the rezoning? Or anyone who would like to speak against the rezoning? Anyone who would like to speak against the rezoning? Declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of council?
Move for acceptance of staff recommendation.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Sudler to approve the ordinance as presented with staff recommendations. Is there any further discussion of the matter? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sudler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Item 5C, public hearing, final reading, of the proposed ordinance 2016-04, rezoning request for property located at 834 South State Street, consisting of 17,000 plus or minus square feet, owned by Michael W. and Winifred M. Braun. The property is currently zoned R8, one-family residence, and the proposed zoning is CPO, commercial and professional office. First, I will entertain a motion to consider the final reading of the proposed ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Neal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Proposed ordinance 2016-04, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the city of Dover by changing the zoning designation of property located at 834 South State Street. Mrs. Townsend?
Thank you. This rezoning request is also associated with the comprehensive plan amendment that was just approved by City Council. This is for the property at 834 South State Street, and it would rezone the property from R8 one-family residence zone to CPO, commercial and professional office zone. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan due to the amendment just approved by City Council. This did have a public hearing before the Planning Commission on February 16th, where no members of the public spoke, and the Planning Commission ultimately voted 8-0 to recommend in favor. Again, the factors that support this are the land uses that surround it, that this is adjacent to an office building to the south. It is adjacent to an office building across the alley, and then there is also commercial and office on that same block. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Question from Mrs. Townsend? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the rezoning? In favor of the rezoning? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the rezoning? Anyone who would like to come forward and speak against the rezoning? As there is no one, we'll declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of council?
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Herron, seconded by Councilman Neal to accept staff recommendation and approve the ordinance as presented. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sedler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion carries 9-0. 8-0. I'm sorry, 8-0. Now we have agenda item number 6, 60-day progress report, violation of the dangerous building ordinance for property located at 1032-1058 South DuPont Highway, owned by BMDR LLC. Mrs. Townsend, would you please provide the progress report?
Thank you. Again, at the last briefing on this matter, we discussed the changes that were made on the site. The building immediately to the north had been demolished. There's construction fencing up, a fence between this site and the adjacent residential neighbors has been constructed. At this point, we have received the building permit application and building plans for the improvements for this building. So, as Mr. McLeish indicated when he was here before City Council, he has continued to move forward with the applicant to rectify the issues with the property. So at this point, the building permit has come in. It came in just last week, and our staff is in the process of reviewing it.
Questions for Mrs. Townsend? What is the pleasure of council? Is there a motion to accept the report of Mrs. Townsend?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Cole to accept the report, the progress report of Mrs. Townsend. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item 7A is a presentation of the 2015 annual report of the Downtown Dover Partnership. I would invite Greg Moore to the podium for the presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greg Moore, I'm president of Downtown Dover Partnership, and I have with me Bill Neaton, hiding behind. To keep it quick, we've been here before, and we had a big presentation tonight from the community with very much support that we do get, and it's gratifying to see so many different people who help us with our mission in the downtown. A couple things that I do. Bill's going to actually go into some of the little details here, and it's going to be quick. But the one thing I want to make sure everybody understands, that the parade we had this weekend was actually put on by the staff at the Downtown Dover Partnership, and it was a big event and a lot of people downtown, and that's what we like to see. But a couple highlights. This past year, we actually got grants of $1.6 million to improve 2 city streets. The next sections of North Street, 2 blocks of North Street moving to the east toward the railroad tracks, and Bradford Street from Lockerman moving towards Wesley College. We got those grants by making application to the Department of Transportation through their Transportation Enhancement Fund program. It's been a couple different names. Scott, I'm not sure what the most current is, but the partnership
Transportation Alternatives Program.
There you go, Anne Marie. So we were successful in getting those grants, and that will help the city in the maintenance of those roads by using state funds to make those improvements. So we're very excited about those two things. It will be slow because the state designs and it goes over a long period of time, so you won't see any improvements anytime quick, but that's real money coming to our downtown from the state of Delaware, which we like to pursue. Also, the downtown development districts has been a big project for everybody. I can tell you that after we were able to get the $3 million grant where we made parking improvements, North Street improvements, the state reached out to the Downtown Dover Partnership and asked us, how can we help? We sat down with the governor and his staff, and we told them, we could use your help in safety, in terms of money. We could use your help in terms of actual money going to property owners, both residential and commercial, to make real improvements in the properties in our downtown. And they listened, and they created the program, and then we were able to actually secure funds for our downtown, and we're starting to see some of the fruits of that benefit. So we also have long since finished our $3 million grant project, which I said earlier. And we, this year, returned back $75,000 to the state of Delaware, which we hadn't used from that $3 million after we executed the projects that we said. To be honest with you, we didn't want to give the money back. But we wanted to show the state that we're good stewards of their money, and we want to be pursuing other grants from them in the future. And we think that gesture back to the state shows them that we will be good stewards. So we'll be out there swinging for the city of Dover for major grants. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bill for a quick summary.
I think that's the fourth time he said quick, so I'll try to make it quick. Yeah, I'd like to expand a little bit on the Downtown Development District grant program. And I want to give kudos to our city planner who put together the application for the city, which was a major undertaking. And once we were designated as a downtown development district, Anne Marie put on the Anne Marie and Bill show, and we went out and put on all kinds of seminars. And I think the initial 3 were put on at the library, and then we put one on here. I went to Rotary clubs. I went to Kiwanis clubs. I went to Committee of 100. I went to the Deeds group. I mean, I'm sure that I put on at least a dozen of these presentations. And the fruit of those presentations is that through the first round of funding, we got approval for 2 major projects. The Priscilla Block building, and the second floor is completed now. And Anne-Marie, he told me today he's finished the apartments, and we provided him some additional information, so that's good news. The other was the Habitat for Humanity projects, where they've built a number of homes in the downtown development area. These are major improvements to the downtown area, all worked on by the Downtown Dover Partnership. There's 2 major projects, but we also approved 7 minor projects, and those projects are projects that are $250,000 or less. So things are moving in the positive direction. The second round of funding, the announcement was made, I believe, at the end of January. There was 5 large projects to the tune of $1.7 million in the Downtown Development District that we'll see coming to fruition over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. So major improvements in the downtown area. A couple of things that I want to talk about that the Downtown Partnership does. For example, we put on the farmers market, and we're going into, I guess, our 4th year of the farmers market right now. We've just recently negotiated a contract with a farmers market manager. The first year was a little slow. The second year was really important. And to your you, Councilman Sudler, asking about food that is affordable and nutritious. They can get it at the farmers market. But in addition to that, the Downtown Dover Partnership also sponsored a community garden in the downtown development area. and we're getting ready to sponsor a second community garden if we can get some community involvement. And we're meeting tomorrow at NCAL to talk about trying to get some community involvement. The chairs of the NCAL Restoring Central Dover Committee are meeting to try to get that buy-in. So we can have a couple of gardens that are maintained by the residents of the downtown area, and we'll have ready access to fresh produce. So we're really excited about that. Greg mentioned the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which was a great success, and I hope you all had an opportunity to see it. It was really a lot of fun. But the Promotions Committee does a number of other things also. They put on the Capitol Holiday Celebration. They're a partner with that. The Home for the Holidays Parade. The First Fridays, which we've now just expanded to First Weekend, so that it's no longer just a Friday event, but it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday event, and the weekend makes it more of a family type event. We've supported the Dover Comic-Con, which has become a huge event, and we are going to support that in the future. The Merchants Committee of the Downtown Dover Partnership has expanded tremendously over the 2 years that they've been in existence. And I think you probably saw the success that they had putting on the first two events, the Oktoberfest and the History, Heritage, and Hops event. The fruits of that labor resulted in being able to clean up Lockerman Street from State Street to Governor's Avenue. It's now being championed by a group called the Destination Downtown Dover, but they're all merchants in the Downtown Dover Partnership, and the funds that come from it are going to go towards the next block and a half or 2 blocks of Lockerman Street, cleaning that area up. We have a very active parking and safety committee, and I think you'll all agree with me that the cadet program has been a great success in downtown, and it's going to continue to be a great success. Well, the genesis of that project came from a meeting with some downtown merchants who had some security concerns. The chief was there. They addressed their concerns, and out of that meeting, the cadet program had its beginnings, and we could not be happier that the chief has taken that program and moved it to the next level, and it's got funding into the future for that, and thank you, Chief Burnett, we appreciate that. The Downtown Partnership assists in a variety of different areas. For example, we put on 7 different seminars on how to run your business, how to help your business grow, and we got that. We're continuing to do that, and we did that because we had a grant from the USDA for $15,000, and we're using those funds to put these seminars on. We are also putting on seminars into the future at the library with that funding, and it'll be how to use social media to improve your business. One last thing, I will be finished. In addition to putting on these seminars, we are also the Small Business Administration Technical Advisor. And over the years, we have assisted a number of businesses getting loans. During the fiscal year 2015, we assisted 2 businesses to get $120,000 worth of loans. With that, is that quick enough?
Close. I just want to, on behalf of the board of the partnership, just thank the city council and city staff for all the help that they provide for the partnership, and thank you for letting us give a small presentation tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenters? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for the work that's being done downtown. We're definitely seeing benefit. One area that's definitely of interest to the council here, any updates on the old Acme building?
We actually have the building for sale. We have had some serious interest lately. Bill and I and Anne Marie and city staff have actually talked to a developer. that actually came to us because of the funding programs, heard about Dover with the funding programs from the state of Delaware, and has a project going on, and we're going to proceed to talk to that developer and hope that we can bring a great project on that project site. But we have nothing formal to announce tonight. We have some others interested in other properties that we have as well. And again, it is the state's extra money that is actually helping this stimulation of new interest from other parties.
Did the purchase of the buildings that were centers of criminal activity have any? Did they assist with your marketing of that building?
Us doing that certainly helps. Those developers understand that we're willing to make improvements along with the city, because the city participated in that as well. So that has been a benefit, and I think that leadership from the city and the partnership has made that property more interesting. So we're very, very hopeful that we can bring back some big news to you about some new projects.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 7B is a presentation of the 2015 annual report of the Dover Human Relations Commission. I'm sorry. I need a motion to accept the report, the annual report of the Downtown Dover Partnership.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Sudler, seconded by Councilman Neal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. My apologies. Item 7B, presentation of the 2015 annual report of the Dover Human Relations Commission. I'd invite Theodore Henderson, Chair of the Human Relations Commission, to the podium for the presentation.
Ted, please.
You get Theodore once, then you get Ted thereafter.
First of all, let me say I'm very happy to be the chair of the Dover Human Relations Commission. I've served on the Human Relations Commission now, and I've been through 2 commissioners. I guess rule of thumb, if you hang around long enough, pretty soon you'll be the head. But anyway, let me just go ahead and get into this and highlight it. First of all, S. Renee, who was our last chair, did an outstanding job. She was very proactive, and she was very much involved. And so the report that I'm giving is primarily under her reign. In June, we met with the chief of police and city council president to understand the vision for the city. And these are just accomplishments that I'm going over, and the perception of the role of the commission. The commission promoted and attended All Lives Matter held on June the 6th. In July, we met with the state Human Relations Commissions, joined forces with the state commission to make available resources directed to Dover citizens. And the first event was held on December 8th, a screening and discussion of the movie Cracking the Code, which, by the way, is being shown again at Wesley College this Saturday, I believe. We're committed to supporting our commission. We are committed to supporting and understanding the Dover Police. Commissioner Sandusky reached out to Dover Police to inquire about the Ride Along program, Citizens Police Academy, in October. Commissioner Sandusky scheduled a time to ride along with an officer, and I will likewise be involved in that program. I have some great things I'm also say about our chief. I tell you what, he is a hands-on type of individual, and I absolutely love that. And I appreciate the sensitivity of the entire council over some very delicate issues that took place over the year. Thank you very much for that. In August, Commissioner McGiffin and Ms. Smith met with Chief Burnett and Major Maley to discuss how the commission could provide greater support to Dover Police Department and goals to improve community relationships to discuss the commissioner's employee relationship. In September, the City Council President Tim Slavin, thank you, sir, attended our Dover Human Relations Committee meeting and shared his hopes for the city and commission and the commission's possible contribution. We also did a series of bios. We put our personal bios on the city website, each one of us. And my stated bio is, I think communication now will prevent problems in the future. I think we should keep communication open and active. In October, Commissioner Smith attended a 4-day meditation council on behalf of the commission. Commissioner Smith attended the NAACP police outreach event for the city, and myself, Commissioner Smith met with Capital School Superintendent in building relationship on November 20th. Commissioner Bogle engaged in Dover High to monogram T-shirts for the commissioners. In November, we partnered with the police department, with the Ministerial Association, with the City Police, Fraternal Order of Police, and we had a community, family, and fellowship dinner, which the chief and his wife are very much involved on the front line serving folks. That is a great initiative. I'd like to see that happen every year. And if I have anything to do as chair, it will happen every year, because that was a wonderful way to reach out to erase suspicions, improve communications, and keep us actively involved. Also, the Interdenominational Ministerial Association, which I'm a member of, was also a part of that. Our current initiatives is we conducted a human relations survey. We met with various members of the folks who are sitting here and had a very, that is Commissioner McGiffin and myself. And we talked about diversity and relate to employee relationships. Let's see. I think that's about all I want to highlight now, but I don't want to prolong the time. But like I said, personally, I consider it an honor to be a chairman of this commission, and I want to do everything I can in the future to work with both council and members of the city staff here. And I guess that's about it. Any questions for me, sir?
Any questions for Mr. Reverend
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say, as former chairman of the Dover Human Relations Commission, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And we look forward to doing a great job. And as a current state Human Relations Commissioner, I want to convey the message from our chairperson, Christopher Calvin, that he's looking forward to meeting with you and working with you and utilizing our resources as an avenue for the Dover Human Relations Commission. And congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm excited about getting with him.
Other questions? Just offer my thanks as well for stepping up and serving not only as a commission member, but as the chair of the commission. I appreciate it. I know you're someone of long-standing friendship and service to the community, and we appreciate what you're doing for us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Sutler and seconded by Councilman Hare. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now have item 8B2, which Councilman Hare requests to be pulled off the consent agenda. Acknowledgement of Freedom of Information Act violations, Dover Youth Advisory Committee. Councilman Hare.
Yeah, this was sent to our committee, and I just wanted to bring it out that we've had 3 FOIA, I guess, violations that we've been cited or been brought up to our attention. And we should really make sure that we do have the minutes for these meetings. And, you know, my only suggestion would be that we need to have the minutes. I know we don't have these, so I guess we'll be stuck with whatever happens to us, if anything, if anybody pursues it. But it'd be nice to have them. But in the future, though, I think if we don't have any, if we don't get meeting minutes from the meeting, they're not good. We need to sit down and just discuss this with going forward, what we're going to do, because we have to have minutes. I mean, it's not optional. And if we can't have a committee that can do the minutes, I don't know. I mean, I'd leave it up for suggestions. But
Councilman Sutler and then Councilman Hare.
Quick question. This is the Youth Advisory Committee?
Yes.
So who has been taking the minutes, or who is responsible for the minutes? Is it the city or is it a private entity?
Councilman Anderson, you want to answer that question?
The minutes are, it's sort of like the Human Relations Commission. The city is not taking the minutes right now. It's a member of the committee.
Well, I
like the secretary.
Right, I attended the Dover Human Relations Commission meeting, I think about maybe a month ago, Denise, maybe about a month or two, and Denise was taking the minutes. So I know that someone from the city is taking the minutes from city clerk's office. So when we offer the same consideration to the youth?
My understanding was when this
That would
youth
be-
advisory committee was established, that it was incumbent upon them to create their minutes.
Oh, okay.
Create their own agenda.
They were,
Okay,
they were
thank
given
you.
a recording device and tapes and everything to record the minutes.
Which are in possession of the city clerk's office, by the way, the recordings.
Thank you for the clarity.
There is, in fact, I think there are some ways to improve that, which are some suggestions that I think we need to look at and possibly amending it, but I don't want to take the time here, but that should actually be brought to committee of the whole. I do have some suggestions on that, which include, quite frankly, recruiting an adult member responsible for recording.
I wanted to clarify a statement that you made about the recordings of the meetings. Recordings of the meetings are where currently?
Clerk's office. All the
Madam
recordings.
Clerk, can you clarify that? Can you confirm that?
To my knowledge, we have not received any recordings of any of the minutes.
That's why there was such a problem when there was a FOIA request, there was no minutes to be given.
So where I am on this is I'm just going to give you my rule is that we have no violations of FOIA as a body, nor our committees, nor our commissions. It's not something that we tolerate. So I appreciate the concerns that Councilman Hare has raised this evening. And I think we need to set a date by which we get these recordings and minutes established, and we either have a committee that's going to play by the rules of government, or we make a decision going forward. Cole, you had a...
I want to agree with that. I just think we seem to always kind of do like a 60-day maybe progress, just kind of see in another 30 days, 60 days, whatever, see what, and then we can kind of make a decision then.
So someone want to put a motion on the floor with a date specific about when we expect these minutes to be?
I think Councilman Lewis had something to say too.
Councilman Lewis, you have your hand up?
I did earlier, but my question that I was going to ask was answered.
Okay.
Councilman Cole.
When would be we give them,
say, 4 weeks?
that would give them another chance to, that'd be one more meeting.
Yeah, because the
Second
minutes should be,
council meeting in April.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right, can you put that in the form of a motion, please?
All right.
what he said?
Yeah. I'm starting to sound like Councilman Hare here.
I will let you know if that happens.
I move that we have a updated progress on the Youth Advisory Committee's reporting of their minutes in 4 weeks.
For the second meeting. Second meeting in April.
Second meeting in April.
All right, so the motion's been made by Councilman Cole and seconded by Councilman Sutler. Is there any further discussion?
Just one comment.
Councilman
There's a meeting coming up, so we'll have minutes for that coming up meeting, right?
We hope.
That'll be attached to the next packet. Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there now a motion to accept the Council Committee of the Whole report for the Legislative Finance Administration Committee?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman
Second.
Sutler. Seconded by Councilman Cole. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We next have agenda item 9G, the police chief's report. Councilman Hosfeld asked this to be pulled off the consent agenda. Councilman Hosfeld.
Thank you, sir. Chief Burnett, I was reviewing your report today before I came to the meeting. It's a great report, and I appreciate the effort that it goes to put this out for us to review. While I'm happy to see that your traffic arrest numbers are up and your traffic crashes are down, I think they probably coincide. I do have some concerns with the fact that our complaint numbers are up, burglaries, robberies. Is there anything you can help us out with or give us any explanation as to that?
Sure. The overall complaints are up 631 compared to the same time last year, which we're talking about the month of January. We had an officer that had death threats against him, and every 2 hours we were going out and checking his residence. So if you figure, every 2 hours in a 24-hour day, that's 12 times. Over 31 days, that's 372 extra complaints. Still leaves us with an additional 259. We have had an uptick, and several things. This year, we're almost completed the first quarter. At the end of November, or at the end of March, we'll have completed our first quarter. We've had 31 burglaries so far, and this is compared to last year, we had 81 total burglaries. So we're already up to 31. The good news is we have cleared 22 of those, which is a clearance rate of 71%, which is extraordinarily very well. In addition, we've had 17 robberies. Last year, we only had 50 robberies. The good part is we did clear 12 of the robberies. That's another 71% clearance rate. And I was just told, I got a text during our meeting that we just arrested one of the people that robbed the people in the hotel last night. So they're still working as we're having this meeting. In addition to that, we've had 8 shootings rather. We've cleared 2 of them. That's only 25%. But out of those 8, only 4 victims were cooperative. The other 4 were uncooperative. So we've been extremely busy for the almost first quarter.
Thank you, Chief.
Any questions for Chief Burnett? Is there a motion to accept the, Councilman Neal?
Chief, how much of this increase do you attribute to illegal drugs?
As you'll see in 2 weeks from now when I give my annual report, or when we give the police department's annual report, drugs are up tremendously. Marijuana's up over 100%, cocaine's up 185%, heroin's up 875%, I believe, compared to last year. It's definitely the drugs.
Ouch. Thank you.
Councilman Sutler.
I just have one question. Have you met with the Dover Elks Lodge? Just yes or no? And you don't have to give me the gist of the conversation.
We have not yet. We've reached out, and we're having a hard time finding the management.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Burnett? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the police chief's report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hosfeld, second by Councilman Neal. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 10, setting of property assessment appeals. Staff recommends May 23rd, 2016 to May 27, 2016 from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. May 31st, 2016 through June 3rd, 2016 from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. and one evening if needed. Please note that the hearing times are subject to change. Are there any questions on the issue? What's the pleasure of council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Hare to accept staff recommendation on the setting of the property assessment appeals. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 11, evaluation of bids, animal boarding services agreement. Mr. Koenig, would you please brief council on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. President. The City of Dover, specifically the Dover Police Department, was notified in December that the King County SPCA, operating as the first state animal shelter, would no longer accept animals as of December 31st, 2015. They did give the city a 30-day window option if we wanted to exercise it. However, based on that correspondence, staff initiated conversations with both the Office of Animal Welfare at the state level and the Chester County SPCA, which is the statewide vendor for animal housing and control at this point. The statewide contract was issued through an RFP that was part of a state bidding process. And because the City of Dover has our own animal control program, we were not part of that contract, nor did we anticipate the going out of business of the First State Animal Shelter. First State Animal Shelter is changing their business model to more of a boarding and doggy daycare facility going forward, and they will no longer have a role in the sheltering of animals that are picked up under the animal control program. With that being said, we had a telephone conference with Mr. Adam Lamb, the executive director of the Chester County SPCA, and based on that conversation, we entered into a 90-day contract for animal boarding services. That contract expires on March 31st, and tonight we are here to propose the potential extension of that contract through June 30th of 2017 while we figure out, I think, a long-term solution as to how we will accomplish animal boarding services in the city of Dover. There are several options available to us going forward, one which would hopefully allow us to bid with the next round of state contracts for this service, or try to work out another type of vending arrangement going forward. But in the intervening time, I think we are left with executing an agreement with the Chester County SPCA for these types of services. The estimated amount of that contract is $5,000 a month, and we will have to work inside the existing budget to make that work as we go forward. But we believe that we have enough funds for this year. The draft budget for next year includes the $5,000 per month for these boarding services. And essentially, we're working off of an estimate of 200 animals per year. These numbers are being refined by our animal control officer because the actual numbers seem to be coming out slightly less than 200 in the 160 to 170 range, which affects potential pricing going forward. However, I go back to the city manager's recommendation is to authorize city managers to complete negotiations and execute a contract with the Chester County SPCA for a contract period of April 1, 2015 through June 30th, 2017 at a target price of $5,000 per month for animal boarding services referenced in the draft agreement. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Koenig?
Yes, I have a question.
Councilman Lewis.
Were there any other contractors contacted for quotes?
The only other contractor I talked to was the board president of the First State Animal Shelter, the Kent County SPCA. We did not call additional vendors because the Chester County SPCA is the only vendor in the state, to my knowledge.
Okay, because on here it says that you contacted evaluation of bids. Who were the other bidders? There was no other bidders?
No, this would be a sole vendor.
I think that's a substantial amount of money, $5,000 a month. I mean,
It is.
there has to be another option or recourse the city could take.
I do not think there is at this point, based on my discussions with both the animal control officer, members of the police department, the Kent County SPCA or former Kent County SPCA, or the Chester County SPCA. This appears to be our only option at the moment.
So this is the only option.
Councilman?
Yeah.
Councilman Hare.
Who does Kent County use?
They use the Chester County SPCA. That's the statewide vendor for these services now.
That's who Kent County provides the service?
So those services were actually taken over by the state of Delaware, and Kent County pays Chester County directly because they were part of the statewide bidding of services.
Okay. Does any other cities in the state have animal control?
No, we are the only, us and Wilmington are the only two municipalities that have their own animal control program as far as I know.
So this might be something that we might want to consider, whether we want to continue with it since we're the only one and let the county, state take it over?
I think that's something that we could consider, but there's a lot of intricacies to this issue. So before we say we're not going to do it anymore, I think we really need to have an internal review of what this
We are
service
paying
will-
county taxes to have this done, too. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Yep. We have more dogs per population, though.
But it's Kent County dogs, so.
Further questions? Councilman Lewis.
I got a further question. So in other words, if we utilize this service, you said it's in Chester, PA, correct?
That's the name of the company, the Chester County SPCA. We actually take the animal to, I think it's called the Animal Inn in Smyrna.
Okay, so it's local.
Sort of. Kent County.
Any further questions of Mr. Koenig? What is the pleasure of council?
Did you have a question?
You have a question?
I did have a
Councilman
quick
Councilman
question.
Anderson, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Koenig, how long would it take to evaluate the Kent County option?
There is not a Kent County
I
option.
mean, getting out of the business and letting the Kent County option expressed by Mr. Hare.
Yeah, I think that would be possible when they do the renewal of the contract overall, but right now, that contract has already been let. We can't just simply put our hands up and say, take it. I don't think that's ethical on our part. So when the statewide contract comes up again for renewal, I think that would be the point where we could discuss that. But as I said, it's more detailed than just saying, take it, because we have a very good relationship with our animal control person. And that person has a good relationship with the community at picking the animals up and getting them back to owners. One of the complaints at the moment is that the animal gets taken up there and they are taken away, in some cases, very quickly. So there's not an opportunity for much recovery of your animal or pet. So the service, I think, would be very different than it is currently.
Further questions? Councilman Hosfeld?
You said City of Dover and City of Wilmington are the only two. What's City of Wilmington paying?
I do not know. I did not research that. But the City of Wilmington is very close to the line, so they may be able to take their animals directly to the Chester County shelter.
Can I, if I may, can I direct a question to the chief? Chief, would you have any idea? You're in the same business?
It's my understanding that the city of Wilmington pays $50,000 a month or $600,000 a year for their service.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal?
Could we delay this while we take a look, or are we really at the end of the leash as far as going to the dogs?
Mr. Neal, I don't think we have an option for the next, year. I think this is the option we need to take for this year. We evaluate what is the best method for going forward. It is expensive. It's not $600,000, but it's $60,000 annualized. But vet bills, inoculation, all that stuff that happens with these animals is very expensive.
Councilman Hare?
This year, is that when the contract for the state comes up to be discussed again, or?
I think it's actually a year further out. I do not know the answer to that, but the state just took it over, I think, in July of 15. So it may be a 3-year contract.
So we would have a year to talk to the state and the county and see if at the end of a year, we could get onto that contract?
Yes, we would have this 14-month, 15-month period to figure out options.
Okay, and then if we pick up someone's dog, take it to Smyrna, and then they say, oh, that was my dog, I want it back, do they pay to get him back?
I think there are fees associated with it, but as far as I know, our animal control officer makes an attempt to return the animal. So we talked a little bit about chip technology, where they're microchipping animals, and so if the dog has a microchip and our officer can pull up the name and location of that animal, they do try to return the animal to the residents. Or
is there a fine involved?
I believe there is for any type of pickup. There is a fee.
Okay.
Further questions from Mr. Koenig? What is the pleasure of council?
So moved to accept the recommendation on this contract.
A second.
Moved by Councilman Neal, second by Councilman Hutchison. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Sedler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
No.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion carries 7-2. Item 13, we now have the first reading of proposed ordinance 2016-11. Final action by council will take place during the second reading of the ordinance on March 28, 2016. Copies of all proposed ordinances are available at the entrance of the council chambers or can be obtained from the city clerk's office. If there are no questions or proposed amendments, I will defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the ordinances in accordance with section 1-9 of Dover Code. There is no action to take at this time. Madam Clerk.
Proposed ordinance number 2016-11, amending Chapter 102 Taxation, Article 6 Exemptions, Board of Assessment Appeals, Section 102-182, Authority to exempt real property from taxation. This constitutes the first reading. The final reading is scheduled to take place on March 28, 2016.
Agenda item 14, annexation, rezoning request, first readings of proposed ordinances 2016-12 and 2016-13. They are recommended for referral to the Utility Committee on March 29, 2016, and the Planning Commission on April 18, 2016, and that a public hearing be set for May 9, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. Copies of all proposed ordinances are available at the entrance of the council chambers or can be obtained from the city clerk's office. Ordinance 2016-12 is for the properties located at 1411 South Governors Avenue, consisting of 0.2158 plus or minus acres, parcel C, and 1417 South Governors Avenue, consisting of 0.4497 plus or minus acres, parcel D, owned by Heartland Delaware, Inc. These properties are currently zoned BG, General Business District, Kent County zoning classification, and the proposed zoning is C4, Highway Commercial, City of Dover zoning classification. Ordinance 2016-13 is for property located adjacent to State Route 1 and surrounding the intersection of Lipsick Road and Persimmon Tree Lane. 3 unaddressed lots of a single parcel, consisting of 5.67 plus or minus acres, Lot 8, 10.21 plus or minus acres, Lot 9, and 13.69 plus or minus acres, Lot 10A, and property located at 1229 Persimmon Tree Lane, consisting of 228.86 plus or minus acres, Lot 8, owned by Dover International Speedway, Inc. These properties are currently zoned AR, Agricultural Residential, in Kent County zoning classification, and the proposed zoning is RC, Recreational and Commercial, City of Dover zoning classification. I will entertain a motion for their referral as recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Neal. Is there any discussion on the matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I will now defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the proposed ordinances in accordance with section 1-9 of the Dover Code.
Ordinance number 2016-12, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the City of Dover by changing the zoning designation of properties located at 1411 and 1417 South Governors Avenue. And ordinance number 2016-13, amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the City of Dover by changing the zoning designation of 3 unaddressed lots of a single parcel, property located adjacent to State Route 1 and surrounding the intersection of Lipsick Road and Persimmon Tree Lane, and property located at 1229 Persimmon Tree Lane. This constitutes the first readings. The final readings are scheduled to take place on May 9, 2016.
We now have agenda item 15, final reading of the proposed ordinance 2016-07. The first reading was accomplished during the council meeting of February 22nd, 2016. Copies of the proposed ordinance are available at the entrance of the council chambers. First, I will entertain a motion to consider the final reading by title only, which is simply to allow the waiving of the reading. A separate motion is necessary for its adoption. What's the pleasure of council?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hutchison, seconded by Councilman Hosfeld. All in favor signify by saying 7, second budget amendment for fiscal year 2015/2016. Mr. Koenig, please brief us on this item.
Thank you. This budget amendment includes all of the known revenue adjustments to date so far this budget year, It includes the audited carry forward balances and project balances to true up the FY16 budget. On the general fund side, there are some adjustments to items such as transfer tax revenue, municipal street aid, because those things are coming in higher than anticipated. It applies, I believe, all of the FOP contract language as well as the DOE contract language where appropriate, and does our project balances to date. So that's the general overview of those amendments. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have on any of the budgets.
Questions for Mr. Koenig? What is the pleasure of council?
Move to accept staff recommendation. Second.
Moved by Councilman Herron, seconded by Councilman Hutchison to accept staff recommendation and approve the ordinance as presented. Are there any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Sudler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis? Mr. Pohl?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slade?
Yes. Motion carries 9-0. Item 16 on the agenda is the city manager's announcements. Mr. Koenig.
Thank you, Council President Slavin. As I indicated at the last meeting, staff is continuing to work on the collection of revenues related to utility billing and trying to emphasize that our customers get within the 21-day payment window. Staff is working diligently on getting that message out. Also, as I said the last time, we're beginning to work on the delinquent tax balances and the correlation of those things with rental permit licenses, and also implementing the clean hands on some of these delinquent balances. Mrs. Bundick sent a number of properties to munition sales. We have the first reading tonight of that ordinance that will allow us to write off some open space tax delinquencies so that we can make some progress getting the delinquent list to match what's realistic in collection. So Mr. Hudson and his staff are working diligently on that. And then we have other staff members that are cross-checking transactions with some of our customers to make sure that we are collecting money when appropriate. So that has been a major effort and will continue in the future. And I may sound like a broken record, but this has been an important issue for us because we had developed quite a backlog of delinquency. So we appear to be making progress, and we will continue to address issues with our customers as we move forward. Thank you.
Question for Mr. Koenig? Thank you, Mr. Koenig. Agenda item number 17, council members' announcements. Councilman Neal.
Mr. President, recently the city of Dover received some very bad, very negative publicity in the newspapers from a youth soccer organization. I happen to think soccer is a great way for our kids to keep active and the like. But it raised some questions in my mind. How many of these young people who are involved in the program are actually from the city of Dover? And I requested by email to Anne Marie Towson to request the information by a notarized list of addresses. I was also concerned with the monies that were collected by presumably a non-profit or not-for-profit organization, and I would like to see how that money basically was dispersed. It should be open, those books should be open, to determine whether the city was getting a fair return on the fields that it uses, and that, or whether or not we were too expensive. Since that time, we've all members of this council received a letter from the Dover Y expressing the fact that the use of those same fields have expanded their program, and they were very highly complimentary. I'm very disturbed because the letter from the Y will not get the same publicity as the original story from the people who complained. And I wonder if Ms. Towson has heard from them as yet.
I do not have an answer at this point.
But you have sent, and we're making that request.
I've sent the internal requests to get, because there were, of the requests that you had, there were some internal requests, so I was trying to get those together before I reached out to make sure that I had everything.
And that was our cost as well of
Yes.
maintaining that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Other members of council? Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Recently, the city of Dover lost a great advocate for cost containment and efficient government with Greg Mazzotta, and just want to remember him tonight and his family.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. Councilman Lewis.
I have a recommendation that I would like to make to the full city council, but I'm going to reserve it to the next council meeting. I would like to wish my constituents and the residents of the city of Dover a happy Easter and happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. Any further councilmember announcements? Councilman Harry.
I'm sure Mr. Howard will make sure, if you give him a copy of that letter, that it gets mentioned in the paper.
Be very happy to, sir. I'll turn my copy over with all my little notes.
Any further council member announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Studler.
No,
let's do it.
gotta listen to the voices.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
All the